Ahli-ahli politik di negara ini tidak seharusnya melibatkan diri dalam mana-mana syarikat berkaitan kerajaan GLC.
Menurut Profesor Politik Ekonomi Universiti Malaya, Profesor Dr. Edmund Terence Gomez, ia bagi mengelakkan penyalahgunaan kuasa dalam kalangan ahli politik untuk kepentingan peribadi.
Politicians should not be involved as directors of any of these institutions. The minute you put politicians in there, then they seem to want to use the GLCs to serve their own political interest.
Assalamualaikum to our lecturer and our fellow classmates. Today we are Group 3 are going to present and discuss on the issue of political interference under the themes of public enterprise. Let me introduce our group members. First, we have Muhammad Adi Kamarul. Second is me, Farah Fadila. Next is Nurul Hamizah Izzati. Next is Amanda Balkis. We also have Nur Fazlah Hanani, and last but not least, Nur Faradian.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Farah Fadila binti Ma'arif. I will be explaining on the issue of political interference. Before that, in 1980s, the traditional model of public administration have been replaced with the new model which known as the New Public Management (NPM). The original idea of public administration was mainly focusing on the servicing the public interest as well as strongly applied the hierarchical model of bureaucracy in the administration. While NPM is given some new idea and perspective for the public sector to abolish this existing spoil system by introducing the manager approach. One of the characteristics of NPM is to let professional management in public sector. As we know, during the traditional model, the classic bureaucracy system of management has been widely used and resulted in limitation of power, ideas and action on certain matter. Hence, NPM has bring different idea which is to decentralize management environment and away from the old hierarchical structures. With this, skilled and knowledgeable managers can be appointed to be the leader of the department rather than certain individuals that been chosen under the hierarchical system. One of the examples of NPM is public enterprise. Public enterprise has been introduced in the early of 1970 after the realization of government across the world in generating and creating income in the public administration. In public enterprise, it allowed the privatization activity to become the major part in the management. Privatization has fallen under the characteristic of NPM, which this feature can allow the flexibility of management to various of alternative and focus more on market-like mechanism. Public enterprise is a business nature of organization that wholly or partly owned by the state, or in other words, entity that being controlled through a public authority. Next is GLC, Government Linked Company. Is a company that under the control of government and responsible in running the commercial activity on the behalf of the government. The government have the ability to control the GLC. Next, let's move on to the issue of political interference. So political interference is in GLC is not something new that happened in Malaysia. The politician will be appointed as the one that leads the GLC, or in other words, the one that will be listed under the board of director of the GLC. The main reason or objective that allow political matter to be involved in GLC is the opportunity of monetization. The involvement of political in GLC can give an easier access to the government grant and contract from the ruling party at the particular moment. However, over the years, political interference has become something that bring negative idea towards the management of GLC. This happens since some of the politicians has abused their power, and appointment of politician has become an effective practice. Have been effective practice since political interference always related with the ruling party at that particular time, which means if there is any changes in the government in terms of changes in the ruling party, GLC is one of the entities that will be affected since politicians are listed under their board of directors.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Adi Kamarul and I will be explaining the symptom of the issue. The first symptom is existence of conflict of interest. Conflict of interest means that the judgment or decision by someone could affect its personal choices or opinion. The decision could be biased towards the other party because of favor in exchange. This matter could happen to satisfy the third party request or interest, which the worst could be that it exceeds its professional capacity and official duties as someone who works in government-linked companies or known as GLC. The potential conflict of interest could happen when they exploit their position to make a decision in any biased way. Some might think that conflict of interest occur because of corruption, while it is happen because of breach of trust. The second symptom of the issue is patronage. Patronage means the advantage for a support in exchange of interest in any medium of financial aid or privilege and many more. We can see that patronage has become part of social nature because of too many arising issues, especially when they make a decision that biased or profitable to the one particular party. One of argument by Martin Shafter said that political intermediaries happen because of the political party try to obtain the resources. This inflict an idea of political interference happen because of the party want to control the resources in the government-linked companies or GLC. For example, in 2018, during Pakatan Harapan government, Ilbiyin, one of member of parliament under the coalition of Pakatan Harapan or known as PH, hold the position in Pengurusan Air Selangor Sdn Bhd, a government-linked companies that are responsible for handling matters of clean water in Selangor State.
Thank you for the previous presenter. My name is Amanda Balkis binti Muhammad Mazlan. I will explain the causes or factors of the surrounding issues and problems. First and foremost is the power control in decision-making process. In authoritarian decisions, all the power rests in the hands of the decider. Decision-making is the most visible example of the use of power in an organization, and understanding decision-making can be an important way to understand how to use the power of a managerial or executive position to build or destroy trust. Considering the contrasting effect in the unwise use of consensual decision-making, in this instance, public enterprises inappropriately hands off the authority for decisions to a person or group, and the decision essentially runs off the rails by becoming authoritarian, which seems to be the default position for people unschooled in the types of decision-making. An inappropriate decision badly made has to be reversed, often by someone above who made the hand-off, thus creating negative effects in all three parties directly involved in the decision. In this situation, the decision-making power has diffused in a manner that set the stage for problems to develop. Secondly is the political purpose. In most countries, government enterprises pose a challenge to political purposes. They are outside the government's command structure and they frequently face limited market discipline from competition. When ownership is weak, strong internal and external interests may exert influence on the enterprise. Governments struggle to establish good management systems and set appropriate incentives. In fact, government enterprises deal with quite varied ties and in quite different economic environments. It is helpful to separate between business-oriented, for-profit companies, public utilities dominated by old monopolies, and expanding enterprises in the area of public service production. Public service production, such as healthcare, can be organized as government enterprises or administrative agencies with some autonomy. Next is high expenses. There are other arguments over the debt-to-equity ratio that are generally spurious. Firstly, there is no uneven economic burden on an enterprise with a relatively high debt-to-equity ratio due to high interest expenses. This misconception results from failure to consider both interest payments and dividends as payments to capital. This also suggests that variations in the dividend rates of different public enterprises resulting solely from variations in the debt-equity ratio are not necessarily meaningful comparisons. Finally, in the case of private enterprises, it is sometimes useful to manage the debt-equity ratio in order to preserve the control of certain equity shareholders. However, with public enterprises, both equity and loan capital are usually provided by the government or by other government-controlled enterprises such as public financial enterprises. In such cases, preservation of equity shareholder control has little significance. Last but not least is the lack of information. The general lack of information about public enterprises is one of the most striking aspects of them. Governments frequently lack balance sheets, operating statements, and other current information about their operations. Even when data is available, it is frequently not comparable across different public enterprises. Little information is available outside of the individual countries. For example, there are no data for any country on transfers from government to public enterprises in the government finance Statistics Yearbook 1981, and useful data on transfers from public enterprises are limited to about 30 countries. Hence, the general lack of information greatly restricts the ability of the government to exercise effective control over individual enterprises and especially to analyse their collective impact on macroeconomic aggregates.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Hamizah Isati. I will explain on two implications of the issue. One of the implications is poor governance. The existence of poor governance in public enterprise happens when there are questions on the allowable limit of government interference in all public enterprise activities. The government has their own power and control to involve in the governance of the GLCs. The management of both public and private sector entities have the different perspective and environment in operating their services and business with different goals. With the public enterprise and GLC, government can get both monetary fund and help the people, yet it includes the differences in the managing system. The public enterprise operates in different environment, which is the political environment that lead to less straightforward management. From the differences with the political interference, the poor governance exists when the absence of the systematic governing take over. All government activities are overseen by a minister, but the minister has political objectives that may or not be related to enterprise performance. The interaction between the management of public enterprise and government may make a confusion in governing the GLC. For instance, during the Perikatan Nasional PN administration in 2021, many political appointees at GLC stepped down because of the change in government. The changes of political appointment in short term of period will make GLC lose their direction because of the interference of political. The urge on resign shows the poor governance of government in managing the public enterprise that easily influence the governing system of them. Another implication of the issue is the inefficiency in decision making. Controlling stake can refer to the government's percentage ownership or the ability of the government to appoint the board of directors, top management and make major decisions for GLC either directly or through GLICS. Even though the enterprise were privatized, the government retained a strong controlling position. Government has frequently deemed their public enterprises to be widely out of control, while public enterprise management has generally found what they perceive as unnecessary levels of involvement into their operation. The politician did not just give control to the GLC. This may lead to an unavoidable clash between the government and GLC. The political interference in GLC will cause the board of directors, shareholders, stakeholders to experience difficulties in making the decision for the organization. The former chairman of the Malaysian Airline System, Sdn Bhd, Tan Sri Muhammad Munir Majid, says, if something goes wrong with the decision, the government does nothing about it. The government involvement in decision making only make it having inefficient result where the government will not responsible with the outcome. The GLC will feel constrained by the government and cannot produce decision based on their perspective because of the political representative control certain amount of decision making.
Next is accountability. Accountability can be defined as taking ownership of one's duty to act in an honest and moral manner towards one another, where in the business world, a company's responsibility includes its shareholders, workers, and the greater society in which it conducts business. In public enterprise, GLC are managed by the Malaysian government through the Federal Government Linked Investment Companies, GLIC. However, according to the 2010 Auditor General's report, Malaysia's numerous GLC have board of directors that lack of independency and have no relevant professional experience. This can be seen through the overview of 2011 National Audit Report Initiative and updates related to state-owned corporations, which revealed that 28.6% of GLCs exhibit a deficit of RM1.720 billion. This shows that the public enterprise lacks accountability due to the fact that they lack board effectiveness in planning and managing the business. Other than that, poor accountability can be seen through the transparency of the public enterprise, where the GLC information is hard to get. In addition, certain individuals in position of public office might be more concerned with advancing their own interests than those of the people they claim to speak for. For instance, they might steal money from the business to travel extensively and decorate their offices with unneeded equipment. Last but not least of the implications is internal audit. Internal audits are crucial for every organization since they help to check and balance and reporting. This is because the internal audit department offers management with data, evaluations, suggestions, and guidance regarding organizational operations or problems. Moreover, internal auditors' guidance enables businesses to carry out their tasks effectively due to the fact that they are able to provide consultations to help the public enterprise or GLC to understand clearly about the process. However, the management of Sam Darby Engineering Sendirian Berhad was discovered to be defrauding the company in 2010, where during that time, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zubir Murshid was the group chief executive that has been appointed by the government, and he was discovered receiving RM 100,000 from a developer in Johor and 200,000 from a different developer in the Klang Valley. This showed that the company did not conduct internal auditing according to its procedure, and it shows that the staff is not competent to do the job. Next discussion will be continued by Faradiana.
Hi, my name is Nurul Faradiana. I will present on the recommendation to the issue. The first recommendation is meritocracy hiring. The word meritocracy was first used in 1958 by Michael Young in his book The Rise of Meritocracy. Young used the phrase satirically to paint a picture of a United Kingdom governed by a system that prioritized intelligence and merit over all other considerations, including prior individual accomplishment. Nevertheless, since Young's work, the idea of meritocracy has evolved. It currently describes organizations where the greatest employee and idea flourish. A company seeking to increase associate participation and natural leadership should think about implementing a meritocracy strategy. Many governments have implemented method of meritocracy hiring as an effort to lessen the harmful effect of power control. It is proven that promoting fairness and economic efficiency go hand in hand when the best candidates are chosen through impartial processes. According to the CEO and President of Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia, Michael Kyler Lim, appointment to the boards of government-linked company (GLC) should be made on the basis of qualification and merits. According to research done by Dastron, public administration that employ merit-based hiring of their staff have much lower level of corruption than those that do not. People who are hired and promoted as civil employees on the basis of their ability and quality rather than of favoritism, such as political party membership, friendship or nicheship, are more likely to uphold the standard of honesty. The government-linked company ecology requires effective cooperation and management. There is currently no independent oversight framework in place for government-linked company to guarantee accountability, transparency and trust. The present government-linked company overlapping responsibility and maybe irrational tasks need to be examined. It may be possible to design a governance and accountability model that is common to all government-linked companies in order to increase the efficacy of government-linked company. Accountability criteria such as requiring that chairperson pass a fit and proper test by the relevant authority or a parliamentary select committee may serve to detach government-linked company from politics. For instance, by introducing a legislation that addresses the performance management and governance of government-linked company, a strengthened registry and public access to information on government-linked company and their activities should be provided by such legislation. It should also establish an independent and transparent appointment process for government-linked company held within ministry and state government. It should also establish a parliamentary select committee or government-linked company led by a member of the position whose responsibility include scrutinizing the annual report and financial report of GLC and evaluating candidates for top position. The next recommendation is introduce funding bill that include provision to prohibit donation to political parties. A suggestion by economist Terence Gomez, government should disclose the future political finance law that contains a clause forbidding payment to political party from government-linked companies that have contract with the government. GLC that use public funding are accountable to the public. According to Tricia, CEO of the Institute of Democracy and Economic Affairs, GLC company must avoid conflict of interest by not supporting political parties. Political parties should not accept any donation from GLC because GLC are in charge of managing public funds.
it will be improper for them to support one political party over another in their donation decision. In any event, political parties do not get funding for their operation. To minimize grey area where corruption concerns are higher, GLC should be as remote from political as possible. The measure was crucial for controlling political funding and preventing the possibility of political corruption and power abuse. At the federal and state level, there's a need to prevent appointing politicians to government-linked companies and statutory body until the public is certain that appointments are done honestly and the post holder can be held accountable. In the paper titled Corporate Governance Board Independence in Malaysia, Dr. Dominic made the agreement that in order to address the issue of government-linked company, the nomination of independent director must be done independently and with the participation of representatives from the minority shareholder. This suggestion is already being put into reality in some government-linked companies, such as Maybank, when the board's composition includes a larger percentage of independent non-executive director and independent non-executive director out of the board 12 members. These independent directors are chosen from the nominees put forth by the majority shareholder in terms of appointment. The Malaysian Code of Corporate Governance places emphasis on the value of having a stakeholder as the board in order to strengthen the board effectiveness and provide any information with unbiased viewpoint. To guarantee the best and most appropriate candidate are chosen, government-linked company board and management appointment, there is a need to have an institutionalized that increase openness, reinforce merit-based selection procedure and deliberation. Moreover, by strategically choosing the best employee KPI, we enable efficient supervision and enable fast and fact-based decision making.
To conclude, political interference in the government, especially in hiring for government-linked companies or GLC, is not something new. We can see a lot of arising issue due to the irresponsibility by the responsible party, even though a lot of ideas that has been published explaining that the link between GLC and government will be effective and efficient. Full attention and supervision by independent body are truly needed to ensure that this could be avoided and any decision is free from any decision that will be basis for conflict of interest. Moreover, this arising issue could tame the professionalism that they hold in conducting their professional tasks. Greater impact could be avoided if political interference in hiring for government-linked companies or GLC have been overcome in the first place.